Good morning and a very warm welcome. This is the Breakfast Rundown on TV1. I'm Therunee Karunaratne. We're coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. This morning on the Breakfast Rundown in local news, we have details on the parliamentary session that is scheduled to be held today, as well as a key meeting that will also be held between the Government Medical Officers Association and the President. We also have details on January's export revenue of Sri Lanka as per the Sri Lanka Export Development Board, and details on a stock of imported vehicles that is set to arrive in Sri Lanka today. Of course, we have details on several other local news items as well. News overseas this morning concern the Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal, as well as a key minerals deal between the United States and Ukraine. You can stay tuned with us for the news in detail. Let's move on to the top local news item this morning. The committee's stage debate on the appropriation bill is scheduled to begin in Parliament today. It is set to continue for 19 days, including 4 Saturdays, from the 27th of February to the 21st of March. The vote on the third reading of the appropriation bill is scheduled for the 21st of March at 6 p.m. Now, a discussion between President Anurakkumar Dissanayake and the Government Medical Officers Association, or the GMOA, is scheduled to be held today. This discussion will focus on recent budget cuts to several allowances for doctors. The GMOA points out that although the budget includes salary increments for all state sector employees, it also includes significant amendments and cuts to doctors' allowances, especially the extra duty allowance, as well as their leave system. They expressed confidence that the President would take appropriate action to resolve these issues. On to more local news now. The Sri Lanka Export Development Board reports that Sri Lanka's export revenue in January 2025 exceeded $1.3 billion. Service exports in January 2025 amount to $329.37 million. This represents a 37.87% increase compared to January 2024. Goods export revenue for January 2025 was $1,004.82 million, and this is a 3.51% increase compared to the goods export revenue in January of the previous year. The Sri Lanka Export Development Board stated that agricultural exports showed a significant increase of 14.87% compared to January of the previous year. Accordingly, agricultural exports in January this year reached $258.93 million. Industrial exports, meanwhile, increased by 0.08% last month, with a value of $745.89 million. And total exports for January 2025 are recorded as $1,334.19 million, which is roughly $1.3 billion. Now, the first shipment of vehicles imported from Japan will arrive in the island today, following the lifting on the ban of the importation of vehicles. President of the Vehicle Importers Association of Sri Lanka, Prasad Manage, stated that the shipment arriving at the Hambantota International Port carries approximately 300 vehicles. Notably, this marks the first import of new vehicles from Japan in 5 years. He also stated that they will be delivered to the individuals who place the orders as soon as possible. Meanwhile, a shipment of cabs imported from Thailand also arrived in the island. Prasad Manage said that plans are in place to import a total of over 3,000 vehicles. Now, the Auditor General's Department says that new laws will be brought in expeditiously to recover funds from individuals who have caused losses to the government through corruption and irregularities revealed by audit observations. Auditor General WPC Karunaratne stated that amendments to the National Audit Act No. 19 of 2018 will be introduced for this purpose. The Auditor General stated that the Legal Draftments Department is currently preparing the relevant amendments. A discussion was also held recently regarding the expeditious introduction of these amendments. Officials from the Legal Draftments Department and the Attorney General's Department also joined this discussion, which was chaired by the Minister of Justice. The Auditor General stated that with the enactment of the new laws, he will have the opportunity to take direct action regarding corruption and irregularities revealed in audit observations. And in more local news, the police discovered a stash of hidden weapons in a cemetery in Mahena, Gampaha. This discovery was made during a special raid based on information received by the Western Province North Crimes Division. The weapons recovered included a T-56 firearm, a magazine and 22 live rounds of ammunition. Meanwhile, the Department of Agrarian Development states that over 100,000 acres of uncultivated paddy fields have been identified so far. Commissioner General of the Department of Agrarian Development, Rohan Rajapaksa, stated that these identifications were made during the survey conducted under the Eka Mitata Gobi Bimata National Program for cultivating all uncultivated lands across Sri Lanka. He also stated that a formal plan has been prepared to use those lands for cultivations once again. On to the weather news update now. The Met Department says that showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the northern, north central, eastern and Uba provinces and in the Matale, Nuwara Eliya and Hambantota districts. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places elsewhere during the afternoon or night. Fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters can be expected at some places in the eastern and Uba provinces and in the Matale, Nuwara Eliya, Polonnaruwa, Galle, Mathura, Kalutara and Ratnapura districts. Fairly strong winds of 30 to 40 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over the northern, north central, eastern and northwestern provinces and in the Matale, Nuwara Eliya and Hambantota districts. And as always, the general public is requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. Let's move on to news overseas now. Israel is in the process of releasing more than 600 Palestinian prisoners from the Ofer prison in the occupied West Bank after Hamas handed over 4 bodies. Israel is carrying out DNA tests on the bodies to confirm their identities. However, Hamas says that they are 86-year-old Shlomo Mansour, 50-year-old Ohad Yahalomi, 50-year-old Sachi Idan and 69-year-old Itzik Elgarat. They were all taken into custody during the 7th of October 2023 attack. And this is the final exchange of the first phase of the ceasefire deal, which is due to end on Saturday. Israel has been due to release 600 Palestinian prisoners at the weekend, but it delayed it in protest at what it said were humiliating hostage handover ceremonies. Israel says that Hamas has agreed to hand over the bodies tonight without any ceremony. And in more news overseas, US President Donald Trump says that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will meet him in Washington on Friday to sign an agreement on sharing his country's mineral resources. Zelensky has described the bilateral deal as preliminary and said he wants further agreements which include US security guarantees to deter renewed Russian aggression. But Trump said the US would not provide guarantees beyond very much, saying the responsibility should instead fall to Europe. Trump also seemingly ruled out the prospect of Ukraine becoming a NATO member, one of Zelensky's long-held ambitions. Speaking at a meeting of his cabinet on Wednesday, Trump said the presence of American workers extracting rare earth metals on Ukrainian soil would provide automatic security to Ukraine. He also said Kyiv should forget about joining NATO and repeated Russia's claims that the issue was one of the driving factors behind this war. The US president suggested a ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia was not far off, telling reporters that they're going to make a deal with Russia and Ukraine to stop, quote-unquote, killing people. However, Zelensky said without security guarantees they won't have a ceasefire and that nothing else will work. Let's move on to sports news for this morning. Now, World Boxing has been granted provisional recognition as the Sports International Governing Federation by the International Olympic Committee. Boxing is not currently part of the program for Los Angeles 2028, and the creation of a new global body was the biggest hurdle to the sport's inclusion in the next games. The IOC has run boxing at the past two Olympics after the International Boxing Association, or IBA, was suspended as the world's governing body in 2019 over governance, finance, refereeing as well as ethical issues. The Russian-led IBA was then stripped of its status in June 2023 over a failure to implement reforms. World Boxing was formed in April 2023 and now has 78 members across 5 continents, including Great Britain. The IOC said World Boxing has met several key criteria to merit provisional recognition, including gaining sufficient members across 5 continents. It has also applied the sports integrity process during Paris 2024, providing independent oversight and good governance structures, as well as assurance on revenues and signing up to the World Anti-Doping Code. Well, that's a wrap of this morning's edition of the Breakfast Rundown on TV1. I'm Therunee Karunaratne. You can join us once again tomorrow as well, right here on TV1 at 7 a.m. for more of the very latest from here at home and around the world. Until then, take care. Have a wonderful day ahead.